Highway Herald.
Well, before we can audit the highway bills, we have to pass a resolution to purchase that dump truck from the town of
I
Spencer. I've got the voucher here to approve for payment was $3,000. So I would sponsor the resolution and that we
Number
35.
35 of 18.
go ahead and purchase the 1994 Ford dump truck from the town of Spencer in the amount of $3,000.
I'd second it.
Harold. Henry. Roll call town board. Harold Shoemaker,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Andy,
No.
and Penny,
Aye.
and George, aye. Carried.
Other than that, there was just say general bills for the month. We had one bond payment to the Tioga State Bank for $42,667. $42,666.67. And then there was two interest included. One was $435 and the other was $1,760. I recommend it be paid.
Okay. So, is it 53,138.02, or you gotta add both of them?
I didn't add, I'm sorry, it's 5138.02 plus the 4,000, I'm sorry,
That's all right. 53,
138.
138.
2, 4, 2, 43, 47, 57,381.47.
Okay, we have approval and authorization to pay the bills of the evening. I'd make the motion to do such by Fred and Harold. Second,
I'd second.
Andy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Old business. Purchase of the property.
I did take the liberty to call her yesterday, and I did get in touch with her. She said that the one executor of the estate had forwarded the purchase offer on, and they were supposed to have it back to us by the end of this week, and I still have nothing today, so.
All right, very good.
They did accept the offer, right?
I don't
Well,
know.
you're not sure.
Well, that was the offer they gave, but we
That's
accepted,
right.
it was their
Their
offer,
counter offer.
so we accepted their offer, so it must be it's okay, I guess.
Never know.
Never know. That's not
You
saying-
don't know.
We're not gonna go too much more.
No.
All right.
Okay. All right, now, letter received from village about the foil. Was that in my file here? These over.
And I still have not had any response on the appeal letters that they sent.
And we received their tablets and are in process of programming to get them to work. And now I got Harold.
There's one, probably you can follow along as I go, I guess, probably.
Wait, I get this.
Probably gave you 3.
Oh, all right.
I got some extra ones here too. I'll read this so it'll probably be a little clearer. I would like to make the residents of the village of Etten and the town of Etten aware of a few things tonight. First, while reviewing the 2018-19 village budget, I noticed a few items of interest. I noticed the village made it public that there were a shortfall in the revenue of $36,877. It states that in prior years, the shortfall was covered by the contingency fund. The water district has shown a contingency fund in the amount of $4,000 in the last 2 years. The shortfall in funds has been covered by transferring money from the general fund, and this is the 4th year it's happened. In 2015, they transferred $41,143. In 2016, it was $61,720. 2017, it was $44,951. Now in 2018, it's $36,877, for a total of $184,691. And it looks like the rate should have been increased years ago. In their 2018-19 budget proposal, they proposed a $37 in for the first 200 gallons and $6 per $1,000 for the residential properties. For properties not connected, charge $396 for a hydrant, and vacant properties $198. With the possibility of dissolution of the village and the town would be responsible for the operation, billing, reading meters, etc. The contracted Catherine S. Reeves, MS Water Resource Specialist, and the USDA to assist the town in preparing for the possibility of being involved in the water operation. We sent her a copy of the village rates increase. Her response, according to her information, the increased rates would only generate $7,900 a year. Also, she said she would look at a 5-year projection for potential increases. The main reason for the town concerned in inquiring for some of this assistance is that if the village is dissolved and the additional increases need to be done, the village will always say, look at the town took over the water district, and the first thing they did was raise the rates. So I sent in copies up here. I have a copy of it, and I've got some extras here that her response from about the amount. I've got copies of the budget transfers and a copy of the requested information for the rate adjustment, or what she would be looking at, a balance sheet, the reserve accounts, the profit and loss, estimated budget, etc. It's a detailed form in order to go ahead and raise the rates accordingly. So, but the other more important thing is that we've talked about in the town board and many residents is the fire company. In the CGR first study, he estimated that in order to continue the village fire department, an additional amount of money would require over a period of years. In CGR's latest plan, Paul Bishop recommended the selling of the village fire equipment, possibility building, and those funds put into reserves for the fire district.
Water district.
I'm sorry, the water district. When reviewing the village's 2018-19 budget, I noticed the funding for the fire protection in the amount of $39,650, which is up $150 over last year. The village didn't raise the budget as CGR recommended and continue to fund the village fire department. Many residents in the town, along with the community fire and rescue, have questioned the capability of the village fire department to provide fire and emergency services to the residents, and most important, the Spencer Etten Elementary School in the village. Several requests have been submitted to the fire chief in the village for a list of village firemen and in all the training they have received. To this date, this information has not been provided. Information from MSTAR, Department of Health, oversees the medical and EMS response to the village file, was incomplete. They do not have a roster, did not file the appropriate documents with us, and I would characterize their status as incomplete and non-compliant. I have an email here from Mark Sikora, the Chemung County Officer of Fire and Emergency Management, states that the local governing jurisdiction of the fire department is responsible for determining the ability and the capability of providing emergency service as needed. The responsibility falls directly with the village mayor and the village board members to make the determination. The local governing jurisdiction, its members, and individually are both legally and financially responsible for any decisions or lack of, therefore regarding the capabilities of the fire department should there be any litigation due to loss or injury. What concerns many of the residents of the village and the town board is apparent lack of qualified fire and emergency members of the village fire department that has to provide emergency response to the community, but to the elementary school in the village. According to what little information one can get from the village fire department, they presently have one EMT person available to respond, and his qualifications and training has been questioned. According to Joe Morgan from the Spencer Veneton School, the Veneton School in Van Etten, the school system used the New York's NYSP template for their ARP, which designates calling 911 for emergency services. Yes, the school has no control over who dispatched. Apparently it's up to the village to determine if the village fire department is one that responds to the 911 call. My question to the mayor and the village board is worth possibly loss of life or serious injury not treated correctly to the students at the school as well as the community, and not go with CGR's recommendation to discontinue the operation of the village department and allow the community fire and rescue that can provide the fire emergency service that far exceeds the current protection which is provided by the village department. And with that said, I'd like to maybe turn it over to the rest of the board and see if they have any comments and remarks.
Well, one of the biggest things I would think that as the dissolution process goes on forward, that with their shortfall on the water part of the entities there, they should probably start selling items, fire trucks, apparatuses or clothing or whatever it might be, so that money could be set aside for the water, so there won't be any big surprises in the future. You know, naturally there's value down there with the trucks and the equipment that's there. I know there's people that would like to buy that stuff, and who knows. They sure do need the money. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they must know that with their shortfalls on their revenues that goes to the water thing, I don't know if they have a proper water budget as to date even. Way back when the original mayor had the water system going, he made a comment there that you don't have to hook up to the water if you don't want to. He should have said, but you still have to pay the $33 a month, because the project was set up on 100% participation. And if they had done that, you know, it wouldn't have hurt the people that didn't want to hook up. You know, even in the future, maybe if they were charged not even $33 a month, but maybe $15 or $20 a month, it wouldn't be such a shocker to them. And it might do away with the shortfall of funds. I hate to go and tax the people that did sign up and are paying the $33 a month. I mean, it don't make sense to charge them $50, $60 a month for the same service. Spread it out over everybody maybe, but, you know, I don't know. But they definitely need money to be put in reserves for the water thing. Say if something breaks. I don't think they got a nickel to fix it. And there should be money set aside. It was recommended by the water board in Chemung County that they have many months in reserves to take care of that sort of thing. And I don't think they have a nickel. So they should step up and realize their shortcomings and take care of business. That's the only thing I can say.
I'd like to comment on the fire department issue in
regards to the school district. And as you read some of these, I'm concerned, and I have been concerned, but now hearing from Mark Sikora, our outgoing school superintendent, Joe Morgan, and the lack of concern of our school board, seems like nobody wants the responsibility and wants to maybe say there's some governing law or something that protects them from making a decision or trying to get in and come up with some sort of solution to have the village mayor and the village board sit there and say, okay, we recognize we have an issue and we're going to need some help and here's what we need to do. For the lack of attention from the village board and then board members and some, I guess, with Mark Sikora and the school board maybe trying to have some big time influence, putting the community and your children at risk and not acting. And that is criminal in my mind, and somebody needs to do something. To have the director of the Chemung County Office of Fire and Emergency Management kind of just go, well, it's their problem, you know, that bothers me and disturbs me. He's there for a reason. I believe his reason is to kind of work with everybody in the county for emergency situations and stuff like that. And I'm really disappointed in that statement. And if it's a law, it's a law, and it's something we would have to lobby with our assembly and senators to get it changed. But sometimes people got to step in and use their experience and their professionalism and say, hey, we got a situation, we got to straighten this out. And that's just the school, there. And that school district in the elementary covers school kids that come from 4 different counties that our school district covers. Spencer, that's Tyler County, the kids from Spencer, kids from out near Erin, kids from out near Cayuta, up near Ithaca, Danby area. A lot of people go to that school. I'm really disappointed in the actions of a lot of people here, more than I've ever been. I'm really shocked.
Just for record's sake, we know that the village is lacking on any emergency response. What are the numbers at the community fire department? What do they have as interior fighters, 1, 2, EMS, emergency? Because see, that all has to be made known so the public knows what's going on over there compared to what's going on at the village. I'm not trashing anybody, but as Fred has said, and I think you have said it before, we're putting people's lives in chance if we don't have the proper people responding to the proper emergency. You have no.
Well, I know it's over 15 EMTs and it's well over 15 interior firefighters,
But you did give a report.
You gave a
report.
I don't remember what it is.
Don't you have the original
There's,
from October?
there was a report.
I remember why back, to try to make it, I know we put it in the thing.
It might be over 18 even EMTs.
It's gotta be because,
Jen
we've got
came
Ricky
in,
Lynn Webb, Jen, her daughter,
yeah.
and I thought somebody else just got their ear.
I don't have.
There's 4 of us doing refresher right now.
Yeah. But there's quite a few anyway, and there's 4 of us in refresher classes right now for the same thing to keep up to date. And we all passed the practical test. We gotta take the written test on the 17th yet, the state test. I know there's more in firefighter 1 and that kind of things too. So there's actually, it seems to be that there's always somebody in a class someplace doing something to improve.
Is that the total right there?
I think it is.
Well, it says here, let's see here, total firefighter survival 12 hours, that must be like the
Hours of classes.
hours of classes, then firefighter 1 is 104 hours,
Yeah, but they don't have the total of
Right
people.
there.
300, they're just total hours, but I was thinking of total people.
No, not
This
people.
is, oh,
That way, you don't have 312 people down
this is
there.
state training hours.
Right,
Yeah,
I was thinking of
Yeah.
people, because if you could transfer, only reason I say that, because people look at the hours and they don't correlate that with people.
Right, right.
So if you had the number of people, and I know everybody has to take essentials.
12 times 3 is 36, there's your 36, there's 3 there.
Well, hey, you're good with numbers, I'm just trying to,
Let me see the paper.
Yeah.
so, the reason I'm asking is more for information for the community here.
Yeah, he did have a paper.
Yeah, I remember, but I just can't,
One of the things,
I don't have it with me.
and I could be wrong in saying this, that I've been told, because I haven't really, don't even think when I've asked a question, I've been told the truth, and that the decision of the village board and the mayor, it's a simple decision. We feel we might not be able to cover an emergency at the school district, so we're going to ask when you call 911, 911 recognizes the village is to be toned out, the town and community gets toned out, Spencer gets whatever they need. There is somewheres, I can't wrap my head around it, I really can't, I cannot, it's a simple decision, it's a very simple decision.
I think we'll ask later.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think that can't happen until that department's gone. Because I can honestly tell you, when I had an issue with Frank, I specifically asked, could you tone out Department 24? And the EMT dispatcher said, I cannot.
Well, there's a
20
problem
minutes to
in
get
the system, that's what I'm trying to hone in on. Whether it comes from the state level down to the county level, everybody seems like we can't do nothing, but there's gonna be, when there is a problem, it's gonna be big. And I don't care if it's just one person, one child, that's all it's gonna take. And to sit there as, you know, and as a town board member, to sit here and think of that, and I sit here and I think, well, what more can I do, what can I do? I can't do nothing, my hands are tied. And I'm gonna feel real guilty. I can only imagine if something happens and that village board hasn't acted, and Mark Sikor's hiding behind whatever he's hiding behind, and that school board, I'm ashamed, I'm just ashamed. I'm sick to my stomach over the way these people are acting over this.
On that one that I gave you report, was it January, I gave you the full report, that had everything in there.
Well, regardless, I mean, we have,
There's a lot more, but I was just trying to get a ballpark, I don't even know a
Find
ballpark
it?
figure is the right way to put it.
It says 38 active firefighters, 19 interior, 20 EMS providers with 3 paramedics, 14 EMTs, and I know now there's at least 3 more because they just passed, and so there's quite a few.
So out of your 39 members, everybody has essentials, that's a requirement for your
Oh,
department,
sure.
right? Well, I'm asking, I'm trying to educate myself.
Yeah.
So then you've got, you know, it looks like you're pretty well covered, we got everybody's essentials, all 39 members could show up at an emergency situation, you got everybody covered under essentials, they can operate. Then you got 20 EMS people, you got 19, you've got I mean, that's pretty much the whole department right there, that's pretty good percentages.
Yeah.
And as we know, and as, let the public know, we're trying to find out what they have, and, you know,
It's even at that rate, say, you know, we show up with 6 EMTs at the school for a problem. And there still might be issues with that, you know, that might go sour, because you don't know what the issue might be when you get there.
correct.
You know, but at least you're doing the right thing, trying to fix the right thing, you know. We actually have, I think there's 4 mobile vehicles on the road that go right away to the call. My truck is a response vehicle that goes direct. 2485 goes direct. Dave Golden has a truck that goes direct. Dave Lanning goes direct. And they're equipped to handle a problem when they get there. It ain't just like whatever happens. And if somebody wants to respond to the station, they can bring 2 more vehicles that are equipped the same way.
so I think the issue is that we're trying to make it public known to everyone in the community that there's an issue here, and it's very apparent that the, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but the village board and the mayor are dragging their feet on this dissolution plan and not looking towards the future, we're looking for the safety, and again, of the, I know Fred made the comment, and I have a grandson son that goes up here to school, and I would be very disappointed if something happened that, to him or any other child that could not be, receive the proper medical treatment or on time. And so it's, I hope that this brings it to light, and maybe we can, I know Brian Highland here is from the county legislator, and I know he's been working with with Mike Sikora and a few other people in trying to get this resolved and make some progress now. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction.
I think, you know, we're a better community than what we are. You know, everybody's a resident of this, of the town, the village, whatever. We're better than this, and we need to start acting better than this. I mean, just think about the school for a second. Think about the lives in the village. You know, one of a house, you know, something happens, you know. You know, we're better than this, and we have to start acting better, and I hope, as Harold said, what we put out here public tonight resonates with those that are in here, and you're able to kind of be the voice and get out there and start doing your own check-in, and getting people to listen and say, yeah, we got a problem, we need something done. And as we know that when people from the grassroots level get going, they can be pretty powerful. We've seen that. So, you know, we're all in it together at the end here.
Okay, thank you. Brian Highland, you wanna address the board?
Well, actually, I haven't been here in a while. That's all right. The new meeting night falls on the same night as we have our legislative meetings.
Yeah.
I guess we had a meeting after we met with Mike Cruz and I met with the town board. We sat down with members of the village board to address some concerns that they had. And there was two things that came up, was the fire apparatus, and what its value was. They weren't sure about the numbers that they got from CGR. So to address that, Mark Sikora brought in an independent individual to do an appraisal of the equipment and its condition. So we're waiting for that to come back. That was 2 weeks ago today, so we should have that shortly. The other issue was the water system, and we sat down with the Elmira Water Board. They're a larger board, they've been doing it for a long time, and we drew on some of their expertise to put the rest of the questions that were raised about the water system. So those are the two things the county has done so far. To your point about the fire department, the county is limited in what it can do. They're volunteer fire departments. In a fire district, it's the responsibility of the Board of Commissioners to ensure the fire department is properly trained, insured, equipment's inspected. In the village, by New York State law, the fire company is a department of the village. So the village has that responsibility. So there's very little that the Board of Emergency Management can do, except make information available to the appropriate entities.
You know, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not trying to say it's Mark Sikora's fault. I did mention that the way the laws are structured, you know, they kind of start handcuffing everybody in certain situations, and nobody seems like they can make a move back, you know.
Well, there's no procedure, there's no
Right.
process in place
Right.
to address situations as they come up. They rely on the agency, the responsible agencies to control, events and make sure training and all the articles required to run a competent fire company are up to speed. Do you have anything for me?
I want to say something, Brian, I really want to thank you for helping both sides on this, and getting county people involved, the water board with the meeting you set up there, working with us when we met with Mike Cruzen, and then what you did with the village. You know, I know you're doing a lot and helping as much as you can from your position, so I thank you immensely for all your help.
Absolutely, I'm just trying to make it as seamless as
Right,
possible and
make
as
good connections, yes.
user-friendly as possible. that was an oxymoron, but, if, next month, assuming, I don't know what your meeting schedule is next month, we'll be back on the.
Back to the second Thursday.
I'd like to come in, you've probably heard about the Council of Governments that's being resurrected in the county. I've been assigned to that.
Oh.
So we don't really have a structure yet, we have a meeting next week. We'll probably put something together, and I'd like to come back and just chat about that and see if I can get some input from you folks, what you think. And I wanna use it as I'd like to see it as a vehicle for communication and a resource that, particularly in the rural communities, that they can rely on, and maybe open up some doors that weren't there before with the county.
Okay. Would you like to address the board at this time? Dawn, you going? No? No? Good. And I don't know your name, no? No. You don't need to either, no? Heather? Oh, you wanna address the board?
Yeah, actually, the village voted for the dissolution. They voted on things that are opposite, or not opposite, they're different from what you had, said about taking care of, like, the sidewalks and, I can't remember all of them, but anyway, so how much does the town have to abide by the village setup?
I don't know that we have to abide by, if it's far-fetched, I don't think we have to do it, but we wanna give you the same services that they've had before.
Well, the way they're setting it up, if you want trash, you have to pay for it yourself, like everything, not
No,
everything,
no.
but a lot of the things that you said, they had options to vote on, and they
Right.
voted those, against those options. They want the village to pay for, the village entity only to, not entity, whatever's in the boundaries to pay for these things, instead of the things that you had
Well,
described.
basically, what we had proposed was that with the additional, and the information's been out there from day one, was that with the additional sales tax revenue, it ranges anywhere from $52,000 to $56,000 a year, is more than enough money to pay for the sidewalks repair, the cemetery, the street lights, the skateboard park, and the garbage. I think a total comes to around $43,000-$44,000 a year. So what we projected, that doesn't have to be a cemetery district, a lighting district, a sidewalk district. It can all be funded through the additional sales tax money that the town will receive, and we've committed to that.
Well, Barb, the board member there, said that it's on the YouTube, you go to SVE Community Connects, and that's where all the meetings are, excuse me, filed. But I can't recall exactly what her reasoning was, but said that money doesn't really exist, and that would be, I don't really understand, but as a village resident, I mean, plus I don't even have sidewalks in front of my house, but they want, you know.
Well, it's even, I mean, even with their budget for 2018-19, I didn't go in detail on that, but they went ahead and the CHIPS money, the Consolidated Highway Improvement money, which is to be used for the streets and roads, which it's designed for. We're going to use that to repair the sidewalks. Well, there's again, as I'm saying, they had between, I think last year it was $12,000 that they had in their budget for the sidewalks. And they get and their budget is 20, I got the exact number, it's $26,600 and some odd dollars they get from CHIPS. And that should be used to to make any repair on the roads. And I was talking to you, they've got in there in their budget, they've got a $40,000 revenue. Well, they're getting $26,000. I mean, there's errors in this budget, what they're presenting, but anyway, that's all we've presented all the way. And the same with the garbage. We estimated that each family got 2 bags a week, and we put there, and it was a savings of $312 a year, what we projected that each resident would save in the garbage.
So we don't know though whether we can, as villagers, we can vote to approve whatever they come up with, but then when you take over, you could do.
We have an option to adjust it accordingly.
Okay, alright, that's what I needed to know, thank you.
See, I proposed simple, and
Right.
Barb right away says, well, I wanna have it fair, not simple. And I'm thinking, well, what you're saying is not very fair.
Well, it didn't seem to me that some of the things were necessarily fair. So I just was hoping that we could stick with the town, what the
The one
town
thing-
proposed.
Yeah, the one thing about the cemetery, it is a town cemetery. The village has it now. But when the town takes it over, it's definitely a town cemetery, and it can go in the general fund A under cemeteries and be taken care of by the whole town wide, because it is a town cemetery,
Right,
and we're obligated to take care of them. So that, whatever it was, I think it was $15,000 they had for the budget for the cemetery goes away. And so that money can be even applied, and hopefully, with everything else covered, there'll be money left over for the water, I'm hoping.
mhm,
Because I don't wanna have this be a big shocker to the people with the water. I don't think they care. I care about the people in the village. And I really, honestly, I'll say it again, I don't think they care about the people in the village. They're stabbing them in the back.
I will say that, and I've said it before, those who have attended the monthly meetings since the first of the year, we have been planning accordingly to, in the event that there is a dissolve, that we are prepared to hit the ground running, crunching the budget numbers, looking at budget numbers, looking how to incorporate, as Harold said, I mean, they're proposing $54,880 in their county sales tax. Well, that's basically the number we're working off from, to kinda keep the services going, looking to improve, there's some cost savings there, there's a lot of good things we see, and, you know, but there's not much we're gonna be able to do until we get there, but we're trying to be ready, so when that December 31st comes and it is final that there's gonna be a dissolve of the village, we're ready to go. And,
well, it's
you know,
reassuring to hear.
you know, and I think we've been telling people that, but we've been trying to let that take care of itself, let the CGR do their thing, but we just didn't wanna be sitting here on December 31st going, now what do we do? You know, we wanna be prepared, and we've all worked really hard on little bits and pieces and having some discussions, whether it's been an executive committee or just off the cuff in a conversation saying, well, I was looking at this in the report, you know, what do you think, you know, and so, you know, another thing is, as Brian had said, we had the meeting with the water board, I attended, Harold attended, Dawn, Heather was there, and two of the village board members, Brian Belanger and Barb Lawrence. It was a real good, productive meeting, but I'll make this statement, and I don't make this statement to, I don't know, have an influence on anybody one way or the other, but just kinda in the truth, and that we all kinda came to an agreement in there. It was, whether the village dissolves or not, the water still has an issue, and it's still a problem. And even as town board members, I made the statement, the village residents pay taxes to the town and they vote us into our positions, and we are concerned also for your well-being and what's going on, and we wanna help in any capacity. No dissolve, we're asking, we will still help in any capacity. If they dissolve, we're that much knowledgeable now of what's going on to, you know, that's why we wanted to be in the meeting, so we are that much further ahead when that day comes. You know, trying to assure the public that, and even the town residents, the village residents, you know, doing our due diligence to be ready to go.
Thank you.
I think the other, well, I had one other thing, is that in Paul Bishop's in his report, and even in his final analysis here, that I've always questioned why he never continues to go on after the first year after we received the funding from the state. That we've ran the numbers, and the tax rate, based on the current budget that the town has and the village budget has, was actually 2017, that the town tax will go down approximately $1 a thousand per year. Because we'll receive that 91,000 odd dollars a year, and you apply 85% of that to each year's budget. And it's not rocket science. If you apply that each year to the budget, it's going to continue to go down. And it was projected in one of the flyers that in a course of 3 to 4 years, we could be looking at a town tax rate, total town tax rate, includes the village and the town, less than $2 a thousand. And right now, they're paying over $10 a thousand. So village residents. So I don't understand why, you know, again, as we talked, some of the, where they're coming from, why they don't wanna listen or do the, you know, look at the future, but.
This is the plan that was approved by the village there a couple nights ago. And there's an interesting thing in here, the summary of projected tax rates for single government. And they go into the village and they're kind of given the, you know, what you're gonna see in your decrease in taxes. Here's a statement, the village of Etten residents would see 11% drop in their tax rate with the state consolidation incentive, that's a citizens empowerment tax credit, okay? That's the $92,000 that would be received. Now there's always been a discussion about, the argument back was, oh, it's perpetual and it could go away at any time, just like chips is, and chips could go away at any time, but it has been there and been there. And they've kept this thing going since 2003 with the CETC. If it did go away, it would only be an 8% drop. You're gonna have, if that went away at any time, you're gonna lose 11%, go to 8%, that's a big number. You know, in the town of Etten, they see a 4% decrease in their tax rate. And if the CETC money went away, the incentive, we would be 0.4%. So, I don't know, them numbers look pretty good to me if I'm a village resident sitting there paying taxes, you know, and knowing that the money went away from the state, I'm not gonna lose all that, you know, there's gonna be a 4% variance there, but, you know, that's pretty good numbers to me.
Where was it? Heather, did you want to address the board?
At the April 16th village board meeting, you had requested a joint meeting. What has become of that?
Well, I did email to follow up on the 26th, and the village clerk was going to contact the mayor and board and get back to me. That was the 26th. I've not heard anything further.
So I guess to kind of follow in on the dates, under old business, you had filed an appeal regarding the questions for the fire department, regarding their training, their roster. When was the original date of the request?
For the appeal,
No, the original FOIL request.
I believe it was February 22nd.
Isn't there like a state law, you have to respond to a FOIL within 5 or 10 days?
That's correct.
So it's been over 2 months and the village has not responded?
Yes.
No roster, no?
Oh, no information, no.
No accountability,
They're not accountable.
no. Good question.
I guess the last comment I would have to say is, as I'm aware, as water operator for the village, from the beginning, the finances for the village, they have their own checkbook, and the water system was to operate separately under its own. Had this been right from the beginning, it would have been surfaced a long time ago that the water is not producing enough income to sustain itself over time. When we were attending the Chemung County meeting with the water executives there, they could not believe that there was no separate account, that the funds have been slushed together so much that $180,000 fed from their general account, which I believe they their reserve fund was down to $85,000 last year about this time. I don't know where it is today. And their most recent water budget said that they had depleted all the reserve funds out of the water account. Their finances are going down. I really sincerely think that if the town does end up taking over the village, you really need to have or see an audit. Money has been provided through grants, and I believe the village already has that money in hand to pay for advertising, to get the plan out to people. I believe it was $10,000, so if you only have a few copies, what are they doing with the $10,000? That money was set aside, or specifically Paul Bishop of CGR said that like they estimated an audit would be around $8,000. I think you should question that. If you're gonna be taking over the finances, you need to know what's in their books.
Yeah, one thing, I just looked at this water thing there,
Excuse me.
and it says debt's 67,000, but then on the last page,
That's not the one.
Is it this one?
That's not the water, this is the general one.
This is water.
Okay, water, yep. 67, they got $67,000 for their interest-free loan.
But there's two more. Where are they at?
Well, there, they've got, this is the other thing I make comments about, they show there's a statutory bond payment of $5,000. Now and on the next, the debt service interest, they show a statutory bond interest of $10,000. So they're paying more in interest than they are making the payment on the $225,000 loan they have, according to this right here.
$10,000 a year in interest.
I wanna see, I've never been able to find out what is it per year. Is this per year, the whole bill?
That's their budget.
And we gotta come up with that kind of money for 1 year. So they're over half short. It's about $70,000 short. I'm thinking.
Call the cops.
Are they just fudging the?
Pull the kid over there, everybody
That's
else.
the only thing we
I don't see what you're saying you're short.
When you take, if there's 200 houses,
Oh, okay, I see what you're
and
saying.
they're paying, they're only giving you $70-some thousand a year, where's the revenue coming from?
Well, according to what the chief
There are
said
about
that
200 houses on this water system at $33 a month. There's just a couple that pay the double rate, 64 is VTI, the school, so it's not much more income. Then you have a little bit more from the vacant lot and the houses that don't get water.
The hydrants,
But
yeah.
it certainly doesn't add up to what their income is.
Right, so, I mean, if that is, I'm still not convinced that's the total, but maybe it is. I don't trust their numbers. If it's $144,850 per year, and you could bank on that, now that's a starting point, because that's the first time I've ever seen the actual total. And when you figure out what you just said, so it comes to be about 80,000, they're still 64,000 short.
I don't understand why their budget is so much. For example, I believe on the purification line, which refers to chlorine and disinfection, I think it's $9,000. They spent about $700 last year. So I highly suggest an audit. I mean, I don't know how you get it or do it or whatever's gonna happen, but you need to have your attorney look into this.
So, for
That's
them,
why,
so for the water system, they're supposed to put so much chlorine in it to make
To
sure,
maintain a residual,
to maintain a residual, and it costs,
less than $700 a year.
and that's what it costs per year, and they had what in there?
I believe it's $9,000 on their budget. I don't
It
have
costs
it.
less than, okay, so it's not, okay, I was thinking it was vice versa.
They got it up to 15 this year.
Oh,
Heck, they operate like the federal
No,
government.
It was 9,000 last year, it's 15,000 this year.
are you serious?
Where are you seeing that one?
wow.
Oh, that's in the water?
I was involved for like a couple of years working on the budget, 2014 and 2015. After the new mayor came on board, I was never invited into the fold for any administration. But I do have knowledge of, adding numbers together, and I don't understand how their budget can be so much. With a system as small as Etten, we are very small in the realm of water systems. Very small.
I mean, there must be electrical fees for the pump to pump the water up there and them kind of things.
That's probably the most expensive thing, would be the electric bill.
Right,
A few years back, New York Rural Water came in and did a utility study. The results were not provided to me, but the village should have accurate numbers about that from an outside entity.
$6,000.
6,000 for electric.
Oh, it says, supply power and pumping total 6,000, storage of power supply. I don't know how you break it down, but that's what it says.
I'm gonna put this on the front page. All right, did you want to address the board at this time?
No.
Okay, how about you? No?
No.
We're all set? You don't want to address the board? No.
Well, I just to answer, yeah, 'cause I'm a taxpayer in both entities, so I'll speak as a taxpayer, not a town official. Not their budget meeting, but the regular meeting before, one of their board members made a comment, they gave their clerk a $500 a month raise a couple months back. And they made a comment at the last regular meeting that they were using the grant money for that raise because of all the extra work the clerk had to do, and the raise was good for
Until the
Until-
dissolution was passed.
the dissolution or December 31st, whichever came first. So they gave her basically a $5,000 raise for 10 months. Because it was done, I believe, in the end of February, beginning of March.
Yep.
So that covered her for, so that's $5,000. Now, trustee Forbes made the comment that they're using, they looked into it and they could use the grant money to give her that raise to offset all the extra work for FOIL applications and all the filing and the paperwork and making the copies, but to my knowledge, I've only seen about 15 copies of this thing, so they use that money for that. I don't know if they can do that, they gave one of their employees a raise with the grant money. That's another question, if we end up getting into this legal question there with the lawyers, that'd be a question to ask.
Well, we got a resource we can ask them. We got a resource we can ask them.
So anyhow, thanks for all your inputs there and concerns. Are we gonna go executive or gonna go new business?
There you go, new business.
New business is the dog report there, is it resolution that we had to take, accept this thing, 36, is it? Posted. 30, well, I wanna, can we do this combination thing to accept his resignation and to post for a new dog control officer, 3618? And sponsors? Harold,
Authorize the town clerk to,
advertise for new one?
advertise for the vacancy and send him the next thank you letter.
Right.
Thank him for his years of service and,
Okay.
I've seen his son, I tried to convince him to do it, but he didn't want to.
Roll
Go ahead.
roll call down board, Harold?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Andy? Aye. Penny? Yours? Aye, Gary? Oh, that's, I see it right there. There's bids for Donald gravel or somebody's, I don't know. Oh, okay. Am I qualified to do that? Well, I have no idea.
You will.
Still got a camera going on.
Oh, okay, you're gonna read them off.
This here is Porter's,
Well, we'll just make copies of it. Porter's Concrete Service.
and FOB, oh, delivered, okay. So, we're gonna try to compare them maybe
Well,
first?
we'll just,
Should just probably accept them all.
accept them all and then we'll, go from there.
Oh, if we can do that, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Well, just to make
Open
sure
them
that,
and
make
accept
sure
them.
they all got,
As long
They all got a non-polluted bid certificate.
I ripped that one in half. I told you I wasn't qualified.
Why'd I give him a letter?
And it has,
You didn't cut yourself. Nobody would've showed up
Holy
and they would've
yeah,
patched you up.
yeah.
We couldn't have dragged him up the road. We had to put you in the car and get you up.
Be more careful with your tool.
I told you I wasn't qualified to run it.
Careful now.
Now watch
I'm
it.
trying to keep
I see Dawn moved.
I know better.
$11 for any skid.
So, open them for the poor man so they can just peel them out.
Is he
One
scared?
ST 1375. One
It has an honor inclusive, this one does too.
I think you need to
ST,
start.
show 1A.
Might be outrigger error, I'm not sure.
We just pick up on that.
But I'm not sure.
Or you get new air territory.
Oh, this one's open?
Yep.
What's that farming day?
And let's see, this is a proposal,
Might as well. It might as well.
and it says an non-reclusive. And I don't know what the number is.
Well,
but
it
that
comes
looks like a
from, this is
lower
one
price.
from the Kansas Tech, one from Brookings, so this is Kansas.
They forgot to put lollipops in there for the guy that opened them.
Thank you. Fresh bank, 36, 4, 27 and a quarter.
So make one with, there's two letters. What's this one?
I don't know.
Oh, there's one inside of it?
Yeah, it must be one
Oh
inside.
boy, I didn't see that.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
There's no holding there for a while.
You got that, you got it glued together?
I did a little bit.
And it has a non-reclusive. They're all in compliance with the bid standards.
All they wanted was a copy of the bid results, if you send them to it, or fax them to them, that's what Dylan was looking for. That's why there was two of them.
Okay, so, resolution 37 of 18
Except all bids.
to accept all bids, and then we can pick and choose.
Mhm.
If somebody runs out of something, we can still get it for somebody else.
All right,
To accept
all gravel and stone bids, or whatever you wanna call
all
them.
bids.
So move.
Okay, that's sponsor is Harold
I'll second.
and Fred. Roll call town board. Harold,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Andy, Penny,
Aye.
and George. Aye, carried. Now, the VFW is requesting $200 for flags.
Resolution.
Resolution number 38, is it?
Yeah.
I'd sponsor that. Second? Actually, I'm gonna buy the flags for them, I guess. $200 worth of flags.
Just haven't found out where you want them from.
Yeah, and, you know, we're not giving a donation to the VFW. Okay, second,
Aye, no second.
Harold? Okay, roll call town board. Harold,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Andy, Penny,
I abstain.
abstain, and George, aye.
Treasurer.
Oh, you're the treasurer, all right. Nice. Now, I got this FEMA thing here that had to do with that very first thing you were talking about. We gonna act on anything with that right now, or
Well, I just think we need to,
get more active into it, look into it?
well, Tim and I talked about, I mean, if there, what they suggested, I think, if you go ahead and you put in a small project, and then you put in a large project, and then, you know, see if it's, if it's approved for the grant. But if you have to supply, you have to, well, you have to submit the application,
Basic
the basic information and everything in order to be eligible if there is a
disaster.
a fee, for people to be eligible for any FEMA money if they do a declaration. So I think what, I don't know, Tim and I, we talked a little bit, I talked with TJ, but maybe there might be a culvert pipe that maybe it's 5 or 6 feet in diameter, maybe it might need to be replaced and put together a proposal for blocks, or maybe even a box culvert or something like that, and then,
Like we spoke on Cooper Hill.
and then if we find that major, and then we can hopefully get Mark Watts before he retires, or whenever it's gonna, to get him over here to, you know, cause he looked at it originally and help him, get him to draw up the plans and et cetera, and then submit it. And the chances of us being successful, you know, might be slim to none, but at least you have to follow through with it. So I mean, I'll be on the committee, you two of you, so we can, and I think the biggest thing is to get Mark Watts involved, and then, usually he takes it and runs with it, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's real familiar with all the stuff, he
Yeah.
works with it every day.
So, but no, that's fine.
As long as we show them we have a plan and a committee, we're working on it, that puts us a little bit up the ladder, so.
And then I think, then it's money that won't be available until next year anyway, so.
Right, but if we do something like that and it's shown that we're working on a
Mhm,
flood
yeah.
problem area, that money's, you're gonna have to get that back.
Good. No,
So Harold, Tim and TJ,
it's fine with me. I think.
that's good enough, or do you want more?
Somebody else want to be on that?
Penny?
What are we calling it?
We're calling it a committee to study the
Hazardous,
Hazardous FEMA money.
mitigation.
application.
Hazardous mitigation committee, basically, is what it is.
Got it.
Is there any other new business at this time?
I just have one thing, I don't know, if under new business or old business. It was brought to my attention a couple times, this is mostly for Tim. The pipe you took out on Rumsey Hill there by the pipeline, I know they asked you to put that back in, would Ike put that back in? I know,
Which pipe?
right there at the pipeline, where Rumsey Hill comes, where the pipeline comes down on Rumsey Hill, or no, is it J Rumsey? It's on J Rumsey. No, it's Rumsey Hill. On my mind is shot. No, it's that pipeline that comes from behind our place, down in there. You took the pipe out
it's
to the
on J.
plug.
Rumsey.
It's on J Rumsey Road, not Rumsey Hill, but a J Rumsey Road.
No, we never took one out of there.
I never remember a pipe being in there.
And I know Rich Merrick said you took it out of there.
I spoke with your dad's gonna buy a pipe and I'm gonna put it in for him, so.
Okay. He also mentioned something about a pipe that he bought a while back and then it didn't. He didn't understand why he had to go buy it at Chemung Supply. Why not just pay you guys for the pipe and then,
Because
in.
I pay for the pipe out of my budget, and then if your dad wants to buy a pipe, he pays the town, I'm out of the pipe and I don't get the money back. So if you want a pipe, go purchase it yourself, we'll pick it up and put it in. Otherwise it comes out of my budget and I lose it. And I've explained that to everybody umpteen times.
So it's actually for a private drive?
Yeah.
Oh,
A
okay.
new install.
Yeah, right, okay.
And I mean, he understood, and that, you know, the comment was, well, he pays for it, then you have to go get it, and you've already got some down there, but I understand what you're saying.
But
You
I've
got it
explained
for
it
your-
to Archie
Oh,
numerous times.
But he said he'll go ahead and buy the pipe, and he'll let you know, and you can go pick it up, so, no problem.
Okay, anything else?
I'd like to add something for new business. As you know, I got TJ, he's doing my cemeteries,
Yeah.
and he does the park. And we've been finding drug apparatus business in the park behind the bushes. And the bushes look terrible anyways. So I'd like you to just authorize us to pull the bushes, leave it to our discretion to pull the crappy looking stuff out.
The park down here in town?
Yeah. We found multiple, well, TJ found the needles, but the bushes along the
Gazebo.
gazebo,
all the other.
you know, they're just a catch-all.
Yeah.
People throw them behind, they look terrible, and if we pull them right up and out, don't
Doing
behind
grass,
us.
plant flowers.
Yeah.
I don't mind, can I be there when you do it so I can, or be around? That's
Make
all.
sure they're not good flowers, huh?
No, I
We're
understand.
just thinking the bushes, because
Absolutely,
they
yeah.
look terrible.
Oh, yeah. I
That's,
see that
that's
every
what I
day.
found down there. I didn't get a chance to send it to everybody. I put them in the back of the dump truck, so.
I've seen it every day. And I'm
The one I
Yeah,
used
that's
to
fine,
order.
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
The only other thing that we talked about being the top, when we put that overlook over there by the,
Bird sanctuary.
that sanctuary, we were put ahead of the post put in over there, so they wouldn't drive on it.
Yeah.
And we,
How about just a concrete block and we can paint it?
I don't know, something, I mean, I don't know,
Like a Jersey barrier.
something that's so
1
they
ton
can,
concrete, 2 by 2 by 8.
something just so they, you can't drive on it.
You just got walking access.
There was a car that pulled up on it.
Yeah.
We had talked about that last year.
Yeah, I was just when he was talking about it, so yeah, if, however you can make it look good and decent, that's fine.
You can get a picture of like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Concrete block.
I call them Jersey barrier. It's gonna be something similar to it.
Banana berry.
Yeah.
Any other business at this
Redneck.
time? any other business?
We gotta go executive session.
Okay, we gotta,
We have to go to executive session.
okay, executive session,
Discuss personnel.
8:25,
Personnel check.
to discuss about personnel stuff. Sponsor, what did, we gotta do this, a motion?
Second sponsor.
Okay, Harold, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, and carried.
Oh, and put it in trade teacher.
Okay. No, I don't think so. Well, maybe.
Bottom was just,
I got it.
All money.